Our new video today, we're doing 2 NBA player props here on PrizePicks for Monday, May 6th. Before we get started, you guys, link in the description below. Hop into our premium Discord. $9.30 per month, 31 cents per day. It's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We also have other premium cappers in there as well. They post all their plays, research, and analysis. Super positive community in there. Everyone is trying to help each other cash. I also want to mention I'm not a gambling expert, and this is not financial advice. Simply just plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully give you guys some insight and analysis to make your own player prop decisions here. Again, no one's pressing submit on those parlays other than yourselves. But let's get right into it, you guys. Again, Eastern, Western Conference semifinals starting, right? Game ones for these series, these semifinal games. So again, obviously, hopefully we get some competitive games. Competitiveness really in close games really matter, especially in these playoffs, especially with these player props. With a lot of these lines being super high, right? So again, 2 player props that I do like from this 2-game slate. Let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into it. First play I'm targeting is going to be Jalen Brunson, under or less than 13 rebounds plus assists. Now this is at 13.5. It's heavily juiced on the under on Sportsbook, so it bumped to 13 on PrizePicks. I'm still going to play it here at 13. We look at this matchup. Home game for Brunson, right? 217 over under 217 over under 6-point spread. But Jalen Brunson, he's in a spot against this Indiana Pacers defense, the guard defense specifically, that just gives up a ton of points to the guard position, like super spotty defense on the perimeter, and they have not great one-on-one defense. So I think it's a great spot for Jalen Brunson to be scoring the ball. And even if we just look at matchups, right? We look at matchups this season, he's under this line in 4 of 4 and hasn't even had more than 7 RA. Under this line in 3 of 3 games this season, but under this line in 5 straight versus the Pacers, and hasn't had more than 7 RA in 5 straight games, right? The games this season versus the Pacers in 140 to 126 game, a game that the Knicks scored 126 points, he only had 7 RA, right? So that really goes to show you kind of how they're limiting Jalen Brunson. And even on this season, right, the Indiana Pacers allow the fewest assists to the point guard position and the 13th fewest rebounds to the point guard position. And again, this is Outlier, you guys. It's a research betting platform that I do use every single day. There's a link in the description below. You get a 7-day free trial. But Jalen Brunson, like I said, under in 5 straight games versus the Pacers, and even these overs that he's had over his last 10 games, especially against the series against the 76ers. I mean, he only really had 15 and 14 RA, and a lot of these games went, super close. And again, obviously, the Philly presents a completely different matchup on the perimeter as compared to the Pacers. So again, like I said, Jalen Brunson, 3 games this season versus the Indiana Pacers, 7, 6, and 7 RA, which again, just not enough potentials as well. Even if we look at his potentials this season versus the Pacers, he's had 11, 11, and 12. He's averaged 10.2 potential assists over his last 5, and only 11, 9, and 2 potential or rebounding chances per game. So I just don't think the potentials are there. Even if we look at the series that the Bucks just had against the Pacers, I mean, in the series through 4 games, Damian Lillard only averaged 10 potential assists. Patrick Beverley averaged 8, and Chris Middleton only averaged 7.8. And I mean, Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton obviously are scorers first, which is what I consider Jalen Brunson. And for them to only have 10 and 7.8 potential assists respectively, only averaging 5 and 4.7 assists per game in that series, I just think 13 is a little bit too high. I think it's just high because of the, obviously the hit rate that he had in the game against Philly, a series against Philly. So yeah, I mean, even if we look towards the end of the season, right, we look at guard players, rebounds plus assists game log when they scored 28 plus points, which Jalen Brunson's points line here is pretty high. I think it's at 35.5, which is crazy in my opinion. But 13, right? We look at guards that have scored 28 plus points against the Pacers. I mean, this is even going back to January, guys. We only have seen 3 different guards hit the over on this line since really January, when they scored 28 plus points. So I like the under here. I think again, obviously heavily juiced on the under at 13.5 as well. Minus 142 on DraftKings, minus 145 on Caesars to go under 13.5 RA. I like the under here on this one. Second play is going to be a fantasy score line, and it's going to be Jaden McDaniels over 18 fantasy score. I took this in the Discord. I think over the weekend, I think in game 1, and he shot ridiculous. I think he shot 0 for 7 from the field, 0 for 2 from the 3-point line, scored 0 points, still finished with 13.1 fantasy, right? 8 rebounds, 1 assist, and a block, only 1 turnover. But the key here is he played 39 minutes, okay? I mean, he's continuing to play heavy minutes, right? He played massive minutes in the series against Phoenix. I'm expecting 36 plus minutes without question tonight. even in a blowout. But I definitely think this game will remain close. We look at the spread, 5.5-point spread. Denver are favorites here. I definitely think Denver will make adjustments to make this game a lot more competitive. And again, who knows what's going to go on in this game specifically. But 18 is just too low for a player like Jaden McDaniels, who's going to be playing, like I said, 38 plus minutes. Here's the hit rate this season when he does play 36 plus minutes. He's over this line in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of 11 games so far this season. And like I said, he went 0 for 7 from the field goal line. In this game here against Denver in game 1, he makes 1 or 2 shots. I mean, he's super close to 18 fantasy points, right? We look at Jaden McDaniels. Like I said, the rebounding chances are there. In game 1, he had 14 rebounding chances, which is obviously great in helping us here for his fantasy score line. And like I said, this season, when he plays 33 plus minutes, still a pretty decent hit rate, 20 of 29. If we increase these minutes, right, we just say he plays, like I said, 36 plus minutes, 8 of 11 games he's gone over this line. And a great hit rate this season, if we just remove all these filters, versus Denver, right? This season versus Denver, he was over in 4 of 5 games, but was over in 4 straight versus Denver earlier this season, 21.8, 41.2, 28.1, 18.9. fantasy points, right? And if we look at Jaden McDaniels, right, we look at his fantasy score game like this season. Let's just go to versus Denver. Like 18 fantasy points for a player that's playing, 36 plus minutes in any situation is low, right? 9, 2, 3, and a steal hits the over on this line in 34 minutes at Denver. He's had also 28.1 fantasy at Denver earlier this season, not that long ago on March 29th, 17, 3, and 3, and 1 steal. I just think he's going to have a bounce-back game here shooting the ball. He's been in Denver now for a few more days, get acclimated to the altitude. And just even on the season, right, like McDaniels, he does average 0.75 fantasy points per minute. So, I mean, if you do the math, I'm just going to do it real quick on my phone real quick. So let's just say he plays 35 minutes times 0.75. That puts him at 26.25 fantasy points, right? So 18, just a little bit too low for me, in my opinion, right? Just the great hit rate versus the Denver Nuggets this season. 13 fantasy points in game 1, played 39 minutes, had 0 points. So I like a bounce back game from him. 2 plays for this YouTube video. Brunson under 13 RA. Jaden McDaniels over 18 fantasy. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, you guys. And as always, let's cash.